Welcome to Golden Tales and Trails. I'm SJ, a women's fitness and Canicross coach, and I'm joined, as always, by my two golden girls, Sky and Daisy. This episode is brought to you by Tales and Trails Canine Outfitters. We bring you the kit you need for all your adventures with your dog. You'll find the link to our website in the show notes. Hey Paw Crew, it is great to be back behind this microphone. I hope you and your fur babies are all doing super well. And if you are new to the Tales and Trails family, welcome. We are so pleased that you are here. This is a really good episode to get started with because I'm going to share a bit about my journey and how Tales and Trails was created and why. And that little monkey in the background was Daisy. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a different Canicross podcast and I shared my story, and I had a few people reach out to me and say how lovely the story was behind the brand. And it just really inspired me to come back, to dig the microphone out and just come back and talk to you guys again. Now, if you scroll back, you'll see this podcast has been through a number of different evolutions, and that very much is reflective of the journey that I've actually been on myself. And I will talk about that as we go through today's episode. So I'm going to rewind to 2009, which was a very exciting year for me because that was the first year that I got my own dog. And my first dog was a Cocker Spaniel called Molly. She was absolutely wonderful. I loved her to pieces. She had so much energy, as we all know Cocker Spaniels do. And I was working as a teacher at the time. I was quite stressed out. I was, had a lot on my plate, as teaching does. Molly really was an outlet for me to escape, to have some fun, to do some training. And I used to run anyway. I used exercise a lot while I was teaching to cope with stress and to cope with all the teenage angst that I used to have to control on a day-to-day basis. And I would go running with Molly in the mornings, and of course she had somebody looking after her during the day while I wasn't with her. And then in the evenings it was just real pure escapism to go for a walk with her, and it just helped me to stay on top of my anxiety, the struggles that I would have at school, and she really was such a gift. Now, obviously, if you have one dog, you've got to have some more. Molly had a good few years of just being the sole centre of my attention. And in early 2014, my younger sister was working in a vet's in London. And she phoned me up and was telling me about a dog that had been brought into the vets by their owner. And the owner was really struggling with their behaviour. The dog was a Springer crossed with a collie. So, of course, really energetic, really intelligent, and probably like the centre of London probably wasn't an ideal place for her to be living. And her owner really didn't want to keep her and was threatening to have her put to sleep. And the vet that my sister worked for was absolutely adamant that they were not going to put a healthy dog to sleep. So kudos to them. So the vet took ownership of the dog, and then the team at the vets were all trying to sort of rack their brains about where this dog could go and who this dog would suit in terms of the people and the friends and the family that they knew. So my sister phoned me up, and she knew, of course, that I already had a mad spaniel and that I was used to working with spaniels, and I was very active. I did a lot of running, and I ended up with this 6-month-old Springer Collie Cross called Rosie. It was quite clear from the get-go that Rosie had a lot of challenges and that her needs really hadn't been met by her previous owners. She was super clever, really, really intelligent. She just really needed to be active and to be stimulated mentally. Now, when I first got Rosie, it wasn't easy. She had a lot of challenges, and I spent a lot of time doing things to try and support her. I worked with some dog trainers, some behaviorists. And around this time, when I was starting to sort of find out more about dogs and behavior and things, I actually came across a role with the Dogs Trust. Now, if you haven't heard of Dogs Trust, if you're outside of the UK, the Dogs Trust is a really, really big charity that obviously is about looking after dogs, and they have lots and lots of rehoming centres across the UK. And it's a very well-known organisation. They do some great work. in terms of like dog welfare and, you know, sort of promoting responsible dog ownership. And I applied and got the role of education and community officer. Now, this really was like an absolute dream come true, because the education team were all teachers like me, and we were going out into schools and teaching children from like primary school age all the way up to like people who were young offenders in young offenders institutions about dogs, about responsible ownership. But it was all done within the framework of like the national curriculum, for example. So we were delivering like maths lessons, but also those maths lessons were linked to dogs, and we were doing English lessons that were linked to dogs and responsible dog ownership. And I used to drive around in my bright yellow car, visiting different schools and really meeting some wonderful children and some wonderful schools in the process. Now, at the time, Molly actually travelled with me, and she would come into schools, and she was an absolute superstar at it. She really enjoyed traveling with me. Her main focus was me. She wasn't fussed about the people, but she was very happy that she was with me all the time. Rosie, however, was not quite ready for that kind of environment, and I did a lot of work with some of the dog trainers and behaviourists at Dogs Trust, who really helped and supported me to get Rosie to a point where she was actually able to come into school with me and Molly sometimes. I did take both of them with me sometimes, and help me in my role as the education officer. Now, obviously, that didn't happen overnight, and we had a really steep learning curve in terms of me learning a lot from the behaviourists and the trainers at Dogs Trust about dog behaviour and things that I could do to help Rosie, to support her. And one of the things that we actually came across was Canicross. Now, I originally was running because I was into health, I was into fitness, and I was using exercise, and I was running with Molly on a regular basis. We would run, so she would like free run with me. So she would run with me as we were running through like the woods and things like that. She'd run along the beach with me. I didn't ever have to really worry about Molly's recall too much, because she was very much like my Velcro dog. So she always wanted to be with me rather than like chasing like rabbits and things like that. Now, Rosie was really good with recall actually when we first got her, and she started to come on some runs and things with us as well. But one of the behaviourists at the rehoming centre actually suggested, why didn't I try giving Canicross a go? Now, I had never heard of Canicross. This was obviously something that they had come across perhaps on some of their courses, and we gave it a go. And I will side note here that I did not start my Canicross journey with the right equipment, because I didn't know it existed. We didn't really know it existed. So we were very much sort of like, you know, starting out with some really basic equipment, the kind of thing that I wouldn't even consider using for Canicross now. But we were running together, we were using the commands, we were learning this sport together, and Rosie absolutely took to it. She loved it. She loved the fact that she could run, that she could, you know, like release her energy, and she was also having to use her brain at the same time, because she was learning like the left and right commands and that kind of thing too. I really strongly believe that Canicross really was like the thing that changed things for Rosie. It meant that she had a job to do, that she had an outlet, and that then meant that the training that I was doing with her to try and bring her into school with me was more successful, because she had a job, her brain and her needs were being met, and then she was in a place where she could learn more things. So Molly and Rosie had a really successful 5 years at Dogs Trust. So we worked with Dogs Trust up until just before COVID. And unfortunately, because of COVID and everything that happened, the education team actually sort of disbanded, and the charity didn't really have the money to invest in the education side of things anymore. So I decided that as much as I had enjoyed being a teacher, that wasn't something that I wanted to go back to. My daughter was about 18 months old, 2 years old at the time. So I decided to set up my own fitness business. And my fitness business actually really started with me sat behind the microphone and doing things on Zoom, because obviously we had COVID, we had restrictions about what we could and couldn't do. So meeting in person was quite difficult. And once we were in a better situation, I was then able to run like some mum and baby fitness classes, do some one-to-one personal training. And that really is where this podcast started. And if you scroll back, you'll see lots of episodes around like women's health, women's fitness, cycle syncing, like menopause as well, like really sort of following my personal health journey and the changes that I've gone through when it comes to health and fitness as a woman. And I met some amazing people, and you might be one of them listening to me, that I actually worked with on a one-to-one basis. You might have gone through one of my online courses. You might have done some one-to-one coaching with me. And if that is you and you are still here, I am so grateful for you. I did a podcasting course, which helped me to grow this podcast to become one of the top 2% of podcasts globally, which when you say that out loud sounds absolutely insane, considering how many podcasts there are out there now. Then a couple of years ago, we actually moved from the south of England to the Midlands. So we moved from Dorset up to a really lovely area in sort of like the middle of England near to Wales called Shropshire. And this was for an amazing opportunity for my other half, Tim, to be able to take on a wonderful role in a really large farm based in Shropshire. And it was an absolute gift. And I love Shropshire. I love where we live. I love the countryside, the people. It really has been like an absolute joy moving here. Now, throughout all of life's ups and downs, one thing that has always been consistent for me is fitness and exercise. And I really enjoy cycling. I've been quite successful at long distance endurance cycling. I'm quite proud of some of the achievements that I've had and some of the duathlons that I've done. And all of the time in the background, part of my training was running with my dogs. And Rosie was a really big part of that. And she was doing like park runs with me on a regular basis. And we had another dog who was a golden retriever called Comet. And he would also run with me, like Canicross with me on the park runs. So the running has always been there in the background. Now, when we moved to Shropshire, I didn't know anybody. And I thought, okay, right, I'm here. I need to make some friends. I want to, should I say, have my own business, keep my fitness business going. And I decided to train to become a Canicross coach. And I did that with DogFit, and those ladies are absolutely wonderful. They're incredibly supportive, and I've learned a real lot from being part of the DogFit community. And once I had my qualification, I started to do what I call our taster sessions. So I had some amazing people come through my door with their dogs, and I would help them to try out Canicross. And that would be putting on some of the Canicross kit, learning some of the basic like commands, seeing how their dog took to it as well, because not every dog takes to Canicross straight away, but some do. Some absolutely love it. And that really was the start of Tails and Trails, where we are now. Over that time, I have met some wonderful dogs, some really wonderful people. I have some really gorgeous stories of people who have grown in confidence, of dogs that have grown in confidence. If you go over to my Facebook page, which I'll link in the show notes, you can see some of the pictures of the wonderful people that are part of this community. And what we've created together is a group of like-minded people who want to get out, who want to be active, who really love dogs and want to do something lovely with their dogs. And that's what we've got. And that's what I've created, is this really nice group of people who run and walk with me on a regular basis, who have done their taster session, who do the beginner's course, and then join my social run group. And we call ourselves Tails and Trails, the Canicross Club. And we're based in Ludlow, which is in South Shropshire. And I have had so many wonderful people, so many stories, many people that have come through my door who have told me that they're not a runner, that they don't want to run. And those people have actually ended up like competing in a Canicross event. So from those early days with that little rescue dog Rosie, who I needed to support and help because of her sad start to life, has turned into a business and a community for me. And I am so thankful and so grateful for all of the people that have come through my door, all of the people that I have met, and the wonderful people that are still very much part of my community. Now, sadly, Molly passed a few years ago, and that was really, really sad and quite hard to come to terms with. 2 years ago, we also lost Comet, the golden retriever that I mentioned, and also one of our other dogs, Aero, who was a spaniel who worked with my other half on the farm. So the only original one that we have in the house right now is Rosie, and she has well and truly hung up her Canicross gear. She's 13 years old and she's really enjoying taking life a bit slower and a bit steadier. But in the house now, we have Sky, who is a 3-year-old yellow Labrador. Now, Sky is wonderful. She really took to Canicross from the get-go. She was built for this, and many people, particularly like professional Canicrossers, will look to hounds and Greysters and Vizslers to do Canicross. But actually, Sky is an incredibly athletic Labrador, and she is very, very good at Canicross. And the other dog that we have in the house is my golden retriever, Daisy. Now, Daisy's wonderful. She's like a great big fluffy chaotic teddy bear. Sky is the calm one. She is the chilled. She can stand on the line for a Canicross event and she won't make a peep. She will stand there and she will just stay calm and stay chilled, and then she will run her little paws off. Daisy is the chaos monster. She's 1 year old, and like I said, she is a bit of a big fluffy teddy bear. She's very much the dog that is the companion dog. Like Sky is the working dog. She loves Canicross. She loves actually being out with my other half, Tim, on the farm. But she isn't the dog that likes to go to the pub or go out on a family day out somewhere. That's just not her role. And Daisy is the sociable, big character dog that does the golden retriever smile at everybody and wins everybody's hearts. So those two are the golden girls. Sky, my calm, chilled, wonderful, sweet soul. And Daisy, the fluffy teddy bear, the chaos and the character. They are an absolute contrast, but what a wonderful pair they are. So that's the story so far, and Tails and Trails really has grown in size in terms of the number of people that are part of our running community, the people who are supporting us online on social media, and I've put all the links to the social media in the show notes. So what's coming next? I've got some exciting things to share with you. Now, as I'm recording this podcast, it's June 2026. So the Canicross season runs from September through to April. So in the summer, you don't tend to do a lot of Canicross. It's a really great time for the human side of the team to get themselves fit and in shape. But that aside, we have got some great things coming up. Now, I have created a retail business. So I am now selling the amazing products that we use in Canicross from a brand called Nonstop. Nonstop really are the absolute top-notch equipment for Canicross. When I discovered their gear, I fell in love with it. And now when people come to me for taster sessions, when they come for one-to-one training, they try the gear, like the running belts, they put the harnesses on their dogs, and they are just amazed by the quality and how comfortable it really is. So right now I'm running this business out of our double garage on our farm. But very shortly, we are going to be doing a large number of shows like locally, which I'm very excited about. And then moving forward, we are looking into a retail space, which I will share some more information about when the time comes, to actually have a store where you can come if you are local to us, and you can come and try on the equipment. And there's also going to be other items that are linked to trail running. We've got a really fantastic pet food supplier on board as well. And it's going to be a really nice opportunity for people to try some of the non-stop gear, like the everyday stuff, like the jackets, the cooling vests, the collars, the leaves, like all of that kind of thing, even if they're not interested in doing Canicross. And hopefully from having a physical store, it's going to allow me to grow the community even more, to maybe bring in some experts to come and run some workshops, to run some more classes, just to really build and develop the community that we already have. And if you want to follow this journey, I've put all the social media handles in the show notes. You can come over and see what we are doing, but I will definitely, of course, keep you up to date through this podcast. So what's coming up on the podcast? Well, we are going to start from the very beginning when it comes to Canicross. We're going to go through some of the topics of what Canicross actually is, talking about some of the like beginner mistakes and top tips that you can do as a beginner in Canicross. We're going to be talking about how Canicross is really good for reactive and nervous dogs. We're going to talk about how Canicross really can improve your fitness as well. And we're going to be really digging into like trail running and equipment and safety, like lots and lots of really wonderful episodes that are going to be linked to health and fitness, trail running, but of course with Canicross very much sort of like front and center of this journey. Of course, many of you are here because you have been really loyal listeners to a health and fitness podcast. And of course, that is very much going to be a really important part of the episodes that we talk about, because it's so key that we, as the human on the end of the Canicross line, are in the best physical shape that we can possibly be able to support our dog and make their job easier. Because nobody wants to be the lump on the end of the bungee line making their dog work harder. And if you don't have a dog, you are still welcome to come along and listen to the episodes. And perhaps you might know somebody who has a dog who could use some extra help with walking them. And Canicross could be a really great way for you to have some time with a canine buddy and actually help out a friend at the same time. I hope you really enjoyed listening to today's episode, hearing the story behind Golden Tails and Trails, hearing a little bit more about Sky and Daisy and the other wonderful dogs that have touched my life as well. And I hope you're going to carry on and be a really important part of our paw crew as we continue working towards the next Canicross season and the other exciting things that are coming for Tails and Trails. And if you love the podcast and you enjoy the episodes and you'd like to support the work that we're doing here, I would love for you to go and check out the website and see if there's anything over there that might be a good fit for you. You can also book a one-to-one taster session with me, and we can do these either online or in person together. And I can go through an introduction to Canicross and help you learn more about the sport and see if it's a good fit for you and your dog. So Sky and Daisy are signing off for now, and we look forward to catching up with you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us today on Golden Tails and Trails. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with someone you know. Until next time, Paw Crew, we'll see you on the trails. This episode is brought to you by Tails and Trails Canine Outfitters. We bring you the kit you need for all your adventures with your dog, and you'll find the link to our website in the show notes.